All right, everyone, welcome back. Bear down. And of course, the NFL Combine is underway, and you're seeing certain players interviewing with teams. We'll have updates on that eventually. I'm going to bring that when there's more underway. But as of now, the Bears have met with several players, one of them being Ashton Jeanty, and several late-round prospects on the defensive line, as well as Mykel Williams, a first-round prospect, could be a number 10 overall pick for the Bears. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But the highlight of this video, it's got to be the year of the trenches, right? I mean, it seems like we've ignored the trenches for years and years. The only premium pick we've taken in Ryan Poles' tenure in the trenches is Darnell Wright, and he's turned out pretty freaking good. But now we're sitting in a situation where we've got an interior offensive line that is missing not only starters, but backups. And a defensive line that was among the worst in the league last year in the run game, in defending the run. And traded for Montez Sweat. Props to Ryan Poles for pulling off something to have some kind of leverage there. Signed a low-level defensive tackle that's turned out to be a solid, salvageable backup, but injured all last year in Andrew Billings. We've got a lot of work to do on these trenches if we want to have a solid team on the roster next year. So I'll get pulled up here from you the needs we have on this roster coming into the offseason. Now, free agency hits in just a week and a half. So we're almost there, I guess, a week and a half. So we got several needs, many of them on the offensive and defensive line, left guard, center, right guard, nose tackle, defensive end. You can argue tight end can be, a trench position, or it could be, a specialty position, but we'll say it's both. So it's right here in the middle. And on the backups, you still need an offensive tackle, left guard, center, another tight end, a defensive end, and then, right here, we've got other needs to fill as well. You got 3 tech. We should move that one space over. Sorry about that. So we got most of our needs on the trenches here out of all these bits. And then some of these, should be guys that we should re-sign to the roster, like Josh Blackwell. We've talked about he should be re-signed on a very easy-to-sign contract. Long snapper should not be a difficult one to get. Jalen Jones, possibly re-signed as cornerback. So there's a lot of options here for the Bears, but biggest needs by far this year is the trenches. So we should be addressing that, I would think. Here is a look again at our offensive line and the needs we have here. We drafted Braxton Jones, but he's on the last year of his contract, a 5th-round pick. Drafted Darnell Wright with the premium pick, so that was good. 3rd-round pick for Karan Amagaji. And then you move down here to the defensive line, and you got Austin Booker, who was a 4th-round pick. Andrew Billings signed. Jervon Dexter, 2nd-round pick, so that was premium pick there, and Montez Sweat traded for. But I continue to see this stuff rolling across my timeline on Twitter where people want, to take Ashton Jeanty with the number 10 overall pick like we've ignored. And I understand it's all going to depend on what happens in free agency. What happens in free agency will determine what we do in the draft. But in a draft class where consensus, all analysts are saying in the top 40 to 50 picks, there should be 20 to 25 defensive linemen alone taken and another 10 offensive line taken. So 35 out of those 50, 40 out of those 50 should be linemen. And the Bears have number 10, number 39, and 41. It would be absolutely criminal for the Bears not to focus on the trenches with premium draft picks. Correct? Now then you hear people talking about how we need to upgrade the running back position, and you hear Ben Johnson saying he really likes DeAndre Swift. We've got a lot of picks and a very deep running back class this year that could be filled and satisfied in the 3rd, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round. Who knows where the Bears will satisfy those needs. But over here on the right, you can see the draft picks the Bears have taken throughout the years. So here of Ryan Poles' tenure, this is his first draft class here, and he did trade down a lot. You see these picks, 2 2nd-rounders, but then 3rd, 5th, 5th, 6th, 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 7th, 7th, 7th. And then 2023, these are all Ryan Poles draft classes. And I ran across Swifty, and you guys know I have a good affiliation with Swifty. He a big part of each other over the last year and last year's draft. He put on here, did you know that Ryan Poles has actually spent more draft capital in the trenches than anywhere else? Position by position breakdown of Ryan Poles' draft picker over the last 3 years. He's going to invest more into both lines in the 2025 NFL draft as well. I can agree with that last part. He's going to invest more in the lines in the 2025 NFL draft. He has to. You would think, right? But to say he's actually spent more draft capital in the trenches than anywhere else, I don't think that's necessarily factually true. In fact, I had to pull it up here. He was a little bit off on his numbers. He missed, I don't know if he missed Kendall Williamson. A little bit sloppy there, but offensive line was 6, defensive line was 4, and then safeties was 3, so it's a little bit off there. But even if you take these numbers, out of those 25 picks, only 10 went to the offensive line. 15 went other places. So more was not spent on the offensive line. And then I had to get into my draft tech analyzer for your draft capital. Was more capital actually spent on the trenches than anywhere else? And so those who don't know what this is the Rich Hill draft value chart. It gives you a valuation to where the picks are. It's used a lot by teams for trade value and purposes, but you can also use it for analyzing capital of how valuable a pick is. Obviously, that number 1 pick overall is the most valuable pick in the draft. You get to pick your guy. He's almost always, every time he's going to be a blue chip caliber talent. As we go down, they're worth less because you're sifting through the blue chip talent and becoming more prospects, more opportunities, as Ryan Poles calls them, opportunities. And your opportunity lessens as you go farther down the draft because the top teams should theoretically take the best picks. So there's a Rich Hill trade value chart. There's also the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart. The Rich Hill seems to be more up to date with the times, the one that more analysts say is accurate. So these can be found at drafttech.com. For those of you who are curious, who haven't seen this before, this is your trade value chart. You can go to drafttech.com and see those. So we'll take that off the screen. We'll actually take me off the screen as well. And I just wanted to hit the nerdy analytical stuff. You guys know we love the nerdy analytical stuff on this channel. All right, take my head off the channel. We love the nerdy analytical stuff. So I just wanted to hit this. Swifty said that more was spent on the trenches than anywhere else, so I had to go ahead and analyze this. So per the Rich Hill trade value chart and the Rich Hill on anywhere else. So trenches in the last 3 drafts, Ryan Poles has picked 1, 2 picks in the premium position in the first and second rounds. You can say third round could be 2. Then you had 4 there. All right, so 4 picks for the trenches. And this is pretty equal because trenches take up 10/11 spots on the field, and anywhere else is going to pick up 11/12 spots on the field. So it should be fairly equal, you would think, if you're developing a well-rounded roster. So according to Rich Hill, we spent 661 points on the trenches, and everywhere else we spent 1,922 points. Multiple first-round picks there, second-round pick there, multiple seconds there, a third there. So clearly there's been a little bit more of an emphasis on anywhere else. And that's fine. You have to address where team needs are at the time. But this is a 2.9, almost a 3 times difference in spending on the trenches compared to on everywhere else compared to the trenches. Well, if you take the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart, it's almost the same, about 2.5 times value spent everywhere else than are the trenches. And obviously, just to point out the obvious, taking a quarterback at 1-1 is going to solidify most of that value, but that should be the most valuable player on your team, so you're spending more draft capital there. So what can we deduce from all that? Well, obviously we haven't taken a lot of focus on the trenches. It hasn't been the clear and obvious focus, and you can see the results of that now with where the Bears stand. 5th, 6th, 7th, 5th, 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So it's not that he's completely ignored it. Darnell Wright is an absolute beast. And a lot of people are saying, in fact, I think someone compared him with Ben Johnson to Penei Sewell. So a lot of upside with Darnell Wright. Braxton Jones played very, very well for a 5th rounder. Is he going to get a contract extension? To be determined. Obviously played very well for the Bears for being a 5th round pick. He was the 14th best graded left tackle this last year. Out of 40-ish that had enough qualifying reps, but 32 or 30 30 teams, and he's 14. That's just slightly above league average. And overall tackles from both sides of the ball, 20th overall, out of 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. So not bad by Braxton Jones, but definitely not, your home run hit that you need to spend premium draft capital on. Probably next year's first round pick. If you're gauging my what do I think we'll do? Where do I think we'll go from here? It's a very expensive position, and it's a really good left tackle class next year. with Braxton playing above average and all the needs we have, as we've addressed that on this video, all the needs that we have right here on the offensive line between a starting guard on the other side, center, backup guard, backup right tackle. Now, I realize we might hit a lot of these things in free agency, and I hope we do because we need some experience to combine with the youth. But even if we do that, we've got to be able to develop some background guys in case something happens. You never know when the next Tevin Jenkins injury is going to come along, or Drew Dahlman injury. Dude, Drew Dahlman was injured last year as well, or anybody else for that matter. You've got to have backups. And in fact, Ben Johnson addressed that exact thing yesterday at the Combine when he was talking about an elite offensive core. He didn't just say the front five. He said getting the best five out there, but then he also went out of his way to mention having a core group of guys where the backups can step in and play just as well as the starters. And we got some signs of that last year from players like Matt Pryor. Matt Pryor did step into that role at right guard last year and played at a very high level. So I would hope the Bears would consider someone like Matt Pryor bringing him back, but we still need to be drafting in the trenches with premium picks to be able to have some value on this team moving forward. And again, with this draft having, most analysts agree, in the top 50, between 35 to plus of those picks going to the offensive and defensive line, this is a prime position for the Bears with pick number 10, pick number 39, and pick 41 to even out where we've spent on our team and build for the future of where it matters most in protecting Caleb Williams, moving the ball down the field with a solid offensive line that can help move the run game as well. It helps everything when we level this things out and analyze it a little bit and get things more balanced on the team. This would be the year to do it. So I know a lot of you are hyped up about Ashton Jeanty. I'm going back to Twitter to show you guys this. Ashton Jeanty and all the upside he has. But with this deep of and other people pointed out here, look, let's draft Ashton Jeanty at 10. Meanwhile, here's a fifth rounder, an undrafted guy. So it just seems to be the logical thing. And I know on Twitter, if you follow me, I've been I get abrasive sometimes. Guys, I am what I am. Not apologetic for it. I have a very strong opinion. But when I feel very knowledged, when I feel very knowledged, when I feel like I have basis for something and I have the research and the analytics to back it up, I don't see any way where we can draft Ashton Jeanty and feel good about it when the Bears have had, let's move that off screen, the Bears have had this much depth need and help. And it's not just on the offensive line, on the defensive line as well. So has he spent as much on the offensive line and the defense, the trenches? Has he spent as much on the trenches as he has on other positions? No, he hasn't. He hasn't spent more for sure. He hasn't spent as much either. 2.5, 3 times more value in the premium positions, defensive back, not even just premium, but defensive backs and safeties. And I'm not complaining because Kyler Gordon, been a hit. Jaquan Brisker, up and down, iffy-wishy. Velus Jones, definitely not a hit. Braxton Jones, for where we drafted him in the 5th, an absolute hit. Dominic Robinson, but then you're getting into guys, these are prospects. Elijah Hicks, a hit. Absolutely. Darnell Wright, a hit. Jervon Dexter, a hit. Tyreek Stevenson, very, very, very good. End of his rookie year was elite. I mean, really, really good. And now he's just got to piece some things together. I'm really optimistic about this new coaching staff being able to help him out. Zach Pickens, worried about that. Roshan Johnson, to be determined. Tyler Scott, Noah Sewell, and you're getting into late round guys. So far, the jury's out on all these guys, but I think we've got some hits here at the top, especially Roma Dunze. For whatever you hear on Twitter and everywhere else, number 1 in contested catch as a rookie. Not just rookies, the entire NFL. Number 1 in contested catch. I shared this on Twitter, but I might as well share it here. This was last year. This was out of everybody, not just rookies. So highest wide receiver contested catch rate in the 2024-25 NFL season with minimum of 75 targets. Roma Dunze was number 1, 72.2% contested catch rate. Jaden Reed, Amon-Ra St. Look at the NFC North being represented there. Jacoby Myers, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Juwan Jennings, Lad McConkey, A.J. Brown, and Keenan Allen. Those round out your top contested catch guys. Contested catch always leads to a good NFL career. Sorry if you don't agree with that. It's factual. If you're better at ripping the ball away from your opponent, if you can win those one-on-one battles, you're going to have success in the NFL. So there's a bright future ahead for Rome Odunze. I do apologize if it feels like I'm beating a dead horse here, guys, but it's just something that's just so blatantly obvious that the Bears have to go trenches in this draft. And I don't even, if it's Will Campbell at 10, I don't even care at this point. I think there's better options. You have to hit the defensive line in this class. But if Will Campbell to the Bears is the most well-rounded, most NFL ready because of his NCAA production and how high of a level of competition he played, and they want to start him at guard and move him to left tackle next year or keep him at guard or whatever, if they want to do that at 10, I don't care. As long as it's the trenches, because I'm sick of hearing this crap about Ashton Jeanty and what he can do. And guys, I've openly said, I did my Ashton Jeanty video. He's the number one running back in this class, but it's not by a wide margin like people are saying. It's not huge over Omarion Hampton and Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson and Kunshan Judkins and Cam Scadaboo and Devin Neal. And you can list 25 running backs in this class that are going to be on a roster this upcoming year. With that reason, the Bears have to go trenches, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think, though. I know a lot of you in my chat are stuck on this Ashton Jeanty thing. I know you're stuck on it. You're wrong. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Till next time, Dub Bears and Bear Down.